Hi, you guys. Welcome to Audrey's reading area. Please hit subscribe. Smash that subscribe button for me. I have another fun and exciting article that I'll be reading to you. I have an article this time. This is about the killer flu of 1918. And the reason why I selected this article from this magazine, it's called Scholastic Action Magazine. Yes, it's the reading magazine. The reason why I selected it is because the things that happened back in 1918 was very similar to the pandemic that's going on right now. So let me read this to you guys and show you. Let me see. So yes, it says the killer flu of 1918. More than 100 years before COVID-19, a powerful flu killed 50 million people worldwide. 50 million people. Killed 50 million people worldwide. Here's what it was like to live through this terrifying period in American history. This is written by Todd Olson. Okay. It says, on October 5th, 1918, Violet Harris found out her school was closing down. A dangerous disease was spreading around the country. But to Violet, who was 15, it didn't feel like a threat. It was announced tonight that all churches, shows, and schools would be closed. She wrote in her diary, "Good idea? I say it is. So will every other school kid." But Violet's excitement didn't last. Within a week, the disease had taken hold in her hometown of Seattle, Washington. The entire city was gripped with fear. People started wearing masks to protect themselves. Violet's dad could find only 3 masks for their family of 7. Worst of all, Violet's best friend, Rena, got sick. Before long, she could hardly walk. Violet was scared for Rena, and she couldn't even visit her friend. "It is too bad, but no one can take the chance of getting the flu," she wrote. "It's too dangerous." And now it says, pause and think. Why did Violet's school close in October of 1918? Look at this. Pictures of people in the hospital all together. Yep. So then it reads, the first outbreak. Does Violet's experience sound familiar? If so, that's because she lived through something a lot like the COVID-19 pandemic. In 1918, a disease called the Spanish flu spread around the globe. By the end of 1919, 1 in 3 people worldwide had gotten the disease, and at least 50 million people died. The first sign of the pandemic came in March of 1918. A cook at an army camp in Kansas came down with a fever and a cough. Before long, the camp hospital was filled with patients. Wow. In ordinary times, the disease might not have spread out of control, but World War I was being fought around the globe. Every week, thousands of American troops went overseas to join the battle. This silent killer would go on to cause more deaths than the war itself. Wow. Pause and think. Where did the Spanish flu pandemic start? Wow, good question. Spreading fast. The war created the perfect conditions for a contagious virus to spread. Contagious? What does contagious mean? Contagious means it's able to be passed from one person to another person. That's what contagious means. And pandemic means the quick spread of a disease that affects a large number of people in many parts of the world. Wow. For people who got sick, medical care could be hard to find. Many doctors and nurses were busy at the battlefields. In cities, wounded soldiers filled the hospital beds. Wow. To make matters worse, the public did not get good information about the virus. During the war, many nations censored the news. What does censored mean? Censored means remove things considered to be offensive or harmful. So many nations censored the news. They didn't want the enemy to know that their troops were weakened by disease. A second wave. In August of 1918, a second wave of the pandemic swept around the globe. And this time it was even more deadly. Flus are usually worse for the old and for the very young. But this disease mostly attacked healthy people between the ages of 20 and 40. And it killed fast. Wow. Patients turned blue from lack of oxygen. They bled from the nose and the mouth. At first, public officials wouldn't admit how bad the pandemic had gotten. Sound familiar? In September, Philadelphia allowed 200,000 people to gather for a parade. About 4,500 people died in the next week. Bodies were kept in garages until they could be buried. Still, one city official promised, from now on, the disease will decrease. Decrease means become smaller in size, or the amount or the number becomes smaller. Locking down. By October, Americans realized how deadly the pandemic was. Around the country, nearly 7,000 people were dying every day. Restaurants and schools were finally shut down. Officials told people to wear masks in public. Workers in many places refused to show up for work. Then, almost as fast as it had begun, the flu disappeared. Go figure. It had infected 1 in 3 people around the world. Each of those people became immune to the disease. What does immune mean? Immune means having protection from the disease. So once they got it, it gave them protection from getting it again. Okay. And that stopped the flu from spreading further. Life in many places returned to normal. Wow. It says Violet's diaries were filled with writing, newspapers, clippings, and even doodles. So let me show you this up close. Yeah, even little doodles. And then it says influenza right here, influenza. It says, in Seattle, Violet's friend Rena got better. Thank goodness. The lockdown ended after 6 weeks, and Violet couldn't wait to go to the movies. But she wasn't as excited to be back in class. School opens this week, Thursday. Yes, she wrote in her diary. Did you ever? As if they couldn't have waited till Monday. Back to normal. It took time to bounce back from the 1918 pandemic. But in some ways, the world came out stronger. Government spent money to make sure people had good health care. Scientists studied contagious diseases. In 1918, there were no medicines to protect against the flu. By 1942, scientists had made the first flu vaccine. That's about almost 30 years later. Scientists made the first flu vaccine. Flash forward to today, the world is suffering through another pandemic. This time, it took less than a year to make a vaccine for COVID-19. We owe that success in part to what we learned from the people who lived through the Spanish flu. With a little luck, they may help us bounce back faster than the world did 100 years ago. Wow. Wow. Influenza. That's the long word for flu. Flu is short for influenza. Influenza. Treasury Department, United States Public Health Service, influenza spread by droplets sprayed from the nose and the throat. That's why when I see people walking around with the mask just covering their mouth, it bothers me. It bothers me because you're still spreading it and you're not protecting yourself. Your nose is exposed. You can blow it out or you can breathe it in, but I don't know. Cover each cough and sneeze with handkerchief. It's spread by contact. We're talking about influenza. You got to avoid crowds. If possible, walk to work. Or here in Georgia, we drive. Do not split on floor. It says do not spit on the floor or the sidewalk. A lot of people just spit. Do not use common drinking cups and common towels. Don't do that. Avoid excess fatigue. If taken ill, go to bed and send for a doctor. The above applies also to colds, bronchitis, pneumonia, and tuberculosis. Yes. So now over here we have, you've just read The Killer Flu of 1918. Now do this activity to help you better understand the article. It says go further, find activities online. But tip, text evidence means details in a story that support an answer or show that it's true. So what to do? Use text evidence or details from the article that I read. So that means you can rewind once you're watching this and you're down to this part, you can rewind and listen for some answers so you can get text evidence. Text evidence. Use text evidence or details from the article to answer these questions below. Yes. It says question, and then you write your answer here. So you can write it the same way. Question, right? Questions are over here, and the answers are over here. You write in the answer. The first question, why couldn't Violet visit her friend Rena? The answer, Violet could not visit Rena because Rena had the Spanish flu, which was very dangerous. Question number 2. Why did the Spanish flu spread around the world so quickly? You got to answer that one on your own. I know the answer because I read it. Question number 3. What happened to 4,500 people after a parade in Philadelphia? I know you know the answer because I know you listened to it, but if you forgot, go ahead and rewind and listen to it again. Hint, look for the answers in section A, second wave, when I said second wave. Question number 4. What did officials tell people to do to avoid spreading the Spanish flu? Hint, look for the answers in section locking down. Locking down. Let's see. I think I will read that again to give you guys the answer. Because it says, by October, Americans realized how deadly the pandemic was. And it says, okay, it says, it tells you things about where to sneeze, and we're like to sneeze in a handkerchief. It says don't use common towels and things like that. Those towels and things that everybody uses. Wear your masks in public. Try to walk and not get in a train or a bus with a lot of people in there. Things like that. But you can go ahead and rewind for the rest of the reasons. All right. Thank you so much for joining me here at Audrey's Reading Area. Thank you once again. Smash that subscribe button for me, and I will see you soon. Oh, don't forget to share my videos. Don't forget to go to Audrey's Reading Area and watch all the rest. I have over 460 videos on here. Go ahead. See you soon.